All right, folks, here we go. This is the week that you've probably been waiting for. Some of you must have had that whole SpongeBob meme going on where your eyes are just looking at two different pages because guess what, folks? This week was the NBA trade deadline versus the NFL's Super Bowl media takeover. And boy, oh boy, did the NBA put up a fight, Colby. What can we say? I mean, they came out swinging.
Yeah.
When did the big first trade happen? Was it like literally Monday or like at the beginning of Sunday? Like it was over
Reality
the weekend.
Breaker. It was
Yeah,
Saturday. I think it was like midnight on Saturday. I didn't even see it till I woke up on Sunday. The Luca
yeah. That's probably
trade.
why I can't
Yeah,
figure it out.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
the NBA trade deadline, they came out swinging, folks. But the NFL
I think
media,
they
they did
won.
just, huh?
I think they won.
Yeah, arguably,
That's the first
arguably,
one.
the NFL, and we're going to give the NFL a chance here. We're going to we're going to at least give the NFL their story because they come out when the NBA came swinging, the NFL tried to at least, strike back a little bit. So we'll show off that because they did just have their award show. So we got to give them a little bit of a chance, We got to at least explain some of what the NFL is doing. But yeah, they got their Super Bowl. It's the least of two outcomes. Unless you're a really big fan of the teams, then
Yeah.
congratulations. Hope you enjoy the game, you
Hey,
sick
everybody.
motherfucker.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I gotta tell you, I'm not gonna be. I'm not super pumped for this Super Bowl compared to ones in years past.
you ready for this, Colby? This right now is the first time all week, maybe even the week prior as well, that I've actually turned on any Super Bowl coverage. I have made it my stance to not watch anything until like this weekend. And like this is the first time I'm watching the Rich Eisen show all week. And then boy, it's a little bit of a rush, not gonna lie. But at the same time, I feel like I made my stand and I proved my point. I'm sick of this. I did it to all the NFL coverage. So right there with you is what I'm trying to say. So these takes are going to be really, I guess you could say genuine because I didn't really listen to anyone trying to persuade me differently. So it's going to
Are
be
we
an
gonna do?
interesting
Are we gonna? I'm gonna ask for a spoiler right now. Are we gonna do Super Bowl picks, or do we even need to? I mean, I think we all know what's gonna happen.
one. I think we do need to do Super Bowl picks because I do have a reason at least behind my Super Bowl pick.
I
That'll
have one
easily
too.
transition us to the NBA.
Okay,
Trust me, I already thought of that one because I've been
here.
saying it all week. So let's go ahead and get into the news side of things then for the NFL. The biggest one, in my opinion, comes about their trade talks. Like we mentioned, the first NBA one hit hard, and then the NFL tried to strike back with their own, with Myles Garrett coming out requesting a trade. That one, honestly, Colby, kind of made sense. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. When I heard about the news, I was like, stings for my ankle. Only thing that sucked, Colby, was that was truly the moment the ankle biting Browns might have died. That was probably the end of that take right there after 2 years. So that
Was
feels
that
bad.
the end? It wasn't
Yeah,
this whole last season where they were terrible.
no, we had to still stick by it until the end of the season. I mean, come on, we got like just like how we. I think I repped the Raiders until like 4 weeks until the season ended. So
Yeah,
we
you're
got to
like,
rep
oh,
it.
that's one of your that's an all timer for the. I mean, we've had some bad ones, but that is right up there. Raiders 11 wins in the division. My God.
I mean, you had the Jaguars going to the. Let's not even get into it now. We're not here
Well,
to
yeah,
point
I mean,
fingers.
yeah, and I also had the Vikings like being having a chance for the number one pick, and they were awesome. So
And I kind of co-signed on that one
Raiders
though.
is the worst. It's the worst just because you picked the Raiders. What are you doing? They've been burning us our whole lives. What if the Raiders ever
But
come through?
I mean, even the Raiders. That's why I have no confidence in the Pete Carroll hire. Okay, but
Yeah,
Antonio
me
Pierce. It
neither.
seems like the players like them. There's a lot of hype from the season before. It just all made sense to me. They beat the Chiefs. I mean, it kind of all played out. But there were the signs. Yes, Colby. Like I don't know what is it? They put up 2 points. I think it was against the Vikings that one time, or maybe a field
Just
goal.
the fact that their team sucked. I had told
Yeah,
you at the beginning of the year they
yeah.
were good.
The signs were there, Colby, is what I'm saying. And you have to remember, folks, big believer in Gardner Minshew. He is a part of Jalen's QB club.
Yeah.
And Aiden O'Connell, still a part of the QB club. Really interested to see what Pete Carroll does. I wonder if he's gonna. I think it's gonna be Shador. Let's be real. But
God, I hope so.
hey, you never know. AOC might be able to convince him. But back to the main topic here, back to another bad team that just lost their superstar. Myles Garrett is requesting a trade, and the Browns are going to hold him hostage. It sounds like, Colby. But what were your thoughts on this? Because I said that it was kind of predictable. I didn't want to see it happen, but it made sense when it happened when it did.
Yeah, I don't have take. I have no problem seeing it happen. Good, I'm good with it. I mean, it makes sense. Not super surprising. Like I wouldn't have predicted it, but
I mean, you've
it's
seen one
yeah.
guy.
I wouldn't want to be on the Browns either if I was Myles Garrett. If he already got the contract, I wouldn't want to play for this horrible team with this, shall we say, dark presence at quarterback looming over the franchise because of his contract and who he is and how bad he is. So, yeah, I mean, I don't blame him. It's not like the NBA, though. He's not going to, like, he's probably stuck there. They'll trade him unless he sits out games, but I could see it dragging out. Or they might just bite the bullet and do it, like, before the draft. But I could easily see it dragging out. He's not gonna. I don't think he has enough Jimmy Butler repertoire of moves here because that's just not how the NFL works.
He's like the he was the reigning defensive player of the year. I think if he wants out, he can get out. I mean, you got to. I feel like if you're the
Probably.
Browns, yes, it's going to suck, but I mean, he is your franchise guy. But if he wants out, he spent what 8 years, I think it was there. He's been there for a
He's
good
like
chunk
the
of
best
time.
draft pick they've ever made.
I mean, they made the look. He did his best, and then they just
Number one.
started backpedaling. Okay, we got to remember they did backpedal on their decisions a lot. The Sean Watson thing, like you said, not really, not really going in his favor. And you, if from the sounds of it, it sounds like they're going to run it back with him again. He wasn't a fan of it. That's why, in my opinion, this all makes sense because if he's not a fan of it, he's already an elite prep. He's an elite defensive player in his prime. If you put him on, and this is the fun part of the Myles Garrett conversation, if you put him on maybe the Bills, the Ravens, any AFC team that would like to terrorize the Chiefs, but also you can also put him on, I don't know, the team that's been really talked about with this trade, my Minnesota Vikings. And that's where you get really interesting conversations, Colby, because when you're talking about the Vikings, you got to talk about Sam Darnold. You got to talk about Sam Darnold and what are they going to do with Sam Darnold? And the conversations that I have seen and everything and the stories that I've read was that Myles Garrett could be a potential place for Minnesota, and Minnesota offers Cleveland an out with JJ McCarthy. Now, yeah, see, your eyebrows went up a little bit, but in my opinion, that'd be a doomsday nightmare that I'm tying my wagon to Sam Darnold for a couple more years when we traded up for a quarterback and watch that
I don't
quarterback
think
do
they're going
good.
to trade AJ McCarthy. It's interesting for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
It's interesting, but at the end of the day, I would not. I think Sam Darnold really cost himself some money and some mental goodwill with the front office with those last two games.
Me
So,
too.
yeah, I would. It's very interesting, and it would probably if the Browns, if could get McCarthy, I'd probably want also a pick. I can't do that straight up. Who's maybe the best defense, probably second or third best defensive player in the league. Um, it's interesting, but I don't think the Vikings will do that. I was going to give you another one, and admittedly, I don't know what the cap situation would be on this, so maybe it would be tough. But what about a reunion with Baker? Tampa Bay just
Yes,
reunion
I was
the
thinking
two
about that.
alienated Cleveland Saviors, one who they bailed on, and one who's like, "Yo, get me out of here! They're wasting my prime."
Well, imagine if you
That could
pair
be
him
fun.
up with the defense that they have. I mean, it would take off because then the expectation would literally just fall on Baker because the defense is going to be pretty stacked in Tampa Bay's case. And honestly, it could happen, Colby, if it depends on one player. And I mentioned this when I was doing a solo recording one night. It all comes down to one player, and it's going to be Chris Godwin. I feel like whether or not he decides to come back and play is going to be a huge factor. I mean, I would expect him to retire, but he's also a very big piece of that offense. But you've discovered young receivers this season if you're Tampa Bay. So, and you have great young talent coming up. You have Mike Evans still. I mean, come on. And if you're Chris Godwin, you've been facing a lot of serious injuries these last couple seasons. So I feel like he's going to be a key piece to their offseason if they do make a move for Myles Garrett. Personally, that's just my little spicy take there.
Yeah, that could be interesting. Um, yeah, I like generally, and then we can go to the next thing. But I really like, unless you have more, but I really like Tampa's just general. outlook for the next couple years. I mean, they're going to be in the playoffs every year, I think, as long as nothing goes horribly wrong. Baker has been electric for 2 straight years now, where he's been a top 10 quarterback for them. He's a veteran, and they play in the literally weakest division of anyone. The rest of their companions down there are not exactly juggernauts. So I think they have a real runway here to be in the mix in the playoffs every year, and you never know. You might get one great Baker run, maybe you wind up back in the Super Bowl. This NFC changes every year. There's no evil overlords out there, as history will tell you. So they're in a great spot, I think, for the next couple years.
My other little tad bit here is I do agree to wrap up Miles Garrett here. I do agree with Christian on this one thing. I have a looming theory that they'll also somehow, some way, he's going to fall to an NFC North team. I feel like that is where he's going. It doesn't have to be the Vikings. That's why I say NFC North team, because I can easily see him fit in Chicago, maybe being the other answer for the other side of the ball for Caleb Williams. Being in the defense, stack the defense for Detroit and Green Bay, for God's sakes, with him and that defensive line would give me nightmares. So for either of those two teams. So I'm going to give Christian his little tad bit because I have thought about it pretty concerningly. That's his take there.
It's interesting. I think Detroit just there's too many people they would have to pay. I mean, I said Tampa. That could be the case there.
If you
too.
trade some of those players,
I could definitely see Chicago or Green Bay too, 100%. It's
if
gonna be
this is going to
interesting.
be a trade, you have to remember if this is a trade, Detroit got the players, like you said, that they could probably let go a couple of for a guy like this.
That's
So
true. That's
they
a good
got some
point.
young talent.
Chicago would
Anyways,
probably also drastically overpay just based on the Bears' history of decision making. Maybe not.
that's true. That's true. They got to wait a year then if they're going to try and overpay this guy. But all right, let's go on to the last little little tiny news here that they came out with, in my opinion, because it might not mean anything at the end of the day. But Rams are seeking trades for Cooper Kupp, Colby. I know that might have piqued your interest in the wide receiver department. I don't know if it's any Grayson, any chance that he's going to Pittsburgh, or Minnesota for that matter. But it is a very interesting story. It can be a very interesting piece. And this is why I mentioned Christian before, because he mentioned this is probably a great Raven pick right here. So, Colby, is there any way that you can convince me that Cooper Kupp is going to either A, stay a Ram and not be a Raven? Actually, yeah, that's it. Or he goes to another team.
He's not going to stay a Ram, I don't think. Less to the Rams' credit, they have been pretty cutthroat, I think, with all their decision making clearly, and it's worked for them. So wouldn't be surprised at all that even though he doesn't want to leave, they're thinking about they want to just go super young. I mean, the Ravens would be an option. I don't know if that's the first thing. Christian has some wild takes. He was also talking about the Ravens getting Myles Garrett, so he just thinks
No, that one I didn't give any glance to.
that was silly. But no, so I mean, it would make sense. I don't know. Again, who would want to give him the money? Pittsburgh, maybe. I'm more worried about who's gonna be throwing him the ball. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you don't figure that out. For Pittsburgh, I could see it. I could see either spot. I mean, him on Baltimore would be pretty electrifying, in theory. But man, that's a lot you're paying on weapons, probably. So I don't
Do
know.
you think Bills would also be a suitable option here too? I mean, like I said, those two AFC teams would probably benefit a lot from having a number one wide receiver.
That'd be nasty.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to matter, but it'd be nasty.
The thing though, I want to spin here though before we move off it is the only reason they're probably mentioning this is Matthew Stafford had to have whispered that he might be retiring soon, right? Like, there's no way they're just going to walk off of Cooper Kupp. Like, that has to be a whisper that's going around the office right now is that, hey, we're getting ready for a Matthew Stafford send-off or something like that. Like, that has to be it, in my opinion. There's no way that they're going to move off, in my opinion, of Cooper Kupp, a triple crown receiver, won a championship with. You're really going to just move off it. Like, I can't believe that. So, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a good take. I could definitely see that being the reason. It would make sense. Stafford is also not only is he I don't know if he's 36, 37, but he's had some rough injuries, especially because of all those years when he had no blocking when he was on the Lions.
Detroit.
Um, yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised at all. And you'd rather, it's the old saying, you'd rather get rid of him a year too early than a year too soon, or a year too late. I mean, um, so sell high. Yeah, it would make sense. Anyone can get traded, Jalen, no matter what happens. The
As we learned
trade
this week.
reality is broken. Everything is on the table at all times.
Line is broken. Everything's broken. All right. But yeah, that's all I got for the NFL. Yesterday they did have their award show. So Colby, to speed through NFL a little bit here. I'm going to list out the awards. I want you to tell me which one, which one you like the most here, okay? Or you find the most interesting to talk about. And then I'll choose one as well. So here's the ones that I thought were interesting. You got Josh Allen winning MVP, Joe Burrow becoming the comeback player of the year. PS2, Pat Surtain, he got defensive player. Saquon, offensive player. Jaden Daniels got offensive rookie of the year. So those are the ones, and you can go ahead and just pick one, and then I'll pick one, and then we'll go into the Super Bowl here.
I mean, I assume we're going to want to talk about the MVP one, the Josh Allen. That's the only one that there's really debate over. And then I guess defensive player of the year, but I'll just say a defensive player of the year for my take, just because I don't have any issue with it. I mean, but I think Pat Surtain deserves some credit because usually most years it's a pass rusher that wins that award. So you have to be incredible as a corner, like when Gilmore won it once or twice. So yeah, and he is ridiculous. I mean, he's easily the best corner in the game. He's unreal. So just shout out to him. I guess you could have some pushback. There's obviously many elite defenders deserving cases, but Surtain is incredible. So just historic year from him.
Yeah, that's a great little tidbit there. I don't really have much to add on to that because, like you said, last time it happened, I think was Stephon Gilmore or maybe Jalen Ramsey. I want to say I don't even know if he managed to pull that feat off.
I'll pull it
So
up. Let me see.
yeah, while you do that, I'm going to go to mine because we're both probably going to talk about the MVP. I want to give a quick shout out to Brock Bowers. I think he should have been like second place for Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Any normal year, if you didn't
Yeah.
have the chosen one of Washington.
Yeah, exactly. This isn't any other year acknowledgement there. And honestly, that carries on to my take. Joe Burrow winning comeback player of the year. Shout out to him coming back from his little wrist injury. Well, not little, it was pretty major. It was season ending. But he beat out my guy, Sam Darnold. 14 wins, I guess, wasn't enough to beat the number one QB in both, passing touchdowns. I want to say passing yards and touchdowns. So, which in other words was probably the best quarterback on the field, in my opinion, even though he won 8 games. So, yeah, I think that's incredible. Little great story there that was coming down to the wire, the Joe Burrow versus Sam Darnold comeback player of the year. And now to the MVP, and that is Josh Allen. Colby, did you find out when was the last time someone won defensive
Yes.
player?
And you were right, it was Gilmore in 2019. Ramsey never won it. Before that, when Gilmore won in 2019, no secondary player had won it since Palomalu in 2010, and no corner since 2009, Charles Woodson. So it was literally a decade between Charles Woodson winning it and another corner winning it, Gilmore, and then for Surtain to have this year. So that's a historic names he's on there with. Some of the goats to ever do it.
That is crazy. Great little good searching there, Colby. That's incredible. All right, Josh Allen, you said it yourself. A lot of controversy. Probably the only one that has controversy to it. But I feel like I honestly felt like this was literally the case of last, in my opinion. So where it was Josh Allen had the better numbers, and Lamar just feels like he's going to get it because he's doing more with less at the time. And he, I think, he was doing more with less, had the number 1 seed. So I don't know. For me, this is like a whole what comes around comes back around moment. What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's interesting. I mean, Lamar had the better stats if we're just going by stats, but I have no problem with Josh Allen winning it. I mean, I think he probably, if I would rather pick one of them, I would rather have Josh Allen, I think by a hair. And I love Lamar. He's great. But yeah, I would say I have no issue with it. And people making the joke about it being an Embiid MVP are funny. How they, because Jokic would have won the three straight and everything. Lamar winning his third. Jokic also proved it in the playoffs, and the year they didn't give it to him because they want to give him three in a row, bulldozed the whole league and won the championship. And Lamar lost in the second round again. And it wasn't really, I mean, it wasn't, he didn't have his best game, but he wasn't terrible. It's not all his fault, obviously, they lost. But I know it's a regular season award. I understand the case. He had better numbers, but I think I'm fine with it. I've no, and since Mahomes just wins the Super Bowl every year, that's all the rest of these guys have to play for. So yeah, let Josh get one. He deserves it. I think that feels right to me. That like if Lamar had three and Josh had zero, just for their careers, I don't know. Is Lamar Jackson, even if you think he's better, is he 3 MVPs better than Josh Allen? Like that doesn't sound right to me. So Josh Allen,
that's a great argument. And I said I think I said something along the lines of that as well in our group chat and everything, and I got some flack for it. Yeah, I was about to say, because then I said in the chat, would you rather have 3 MVPs and no rings? And that just sounds the same as almost every other quarterback, but you just have 3 MVPs. So, I mean, it's a good point. But Cam Newton, hey, now about to mention Cam Newton, and the one time that I may have watched First Take with Cam Newton on it, it was actually him discussing how he thinks his MVP was more valuable than winning a Super Bowl, which in my mind is a little crazy because he actually had a chance in the Super Bowl, you know? I think that's a different story. Like for Lamar here, he hasn't even made it to a Super Bowl yet, you know? Same thing with Josh Allen. Both those guys haven't made it to a Super Bowl yet. So I don't know. If next season we're over here sitting here pounding our fist that Joe Burrow deserves an MVP because Josh Allen and Lamar have one, now it's his turn. Let's make sure we at least have something to back it up. Like, you know, the fact that he did make a Super Bowl. And maybe he is in the Super Bowl and he can't make it. I'm not calling my shot this many months ahead. They still got to pay some people, but just saying, you know.
He's the only active quarterback to ever beat Mahomes in a playoff game. So
Not have an MVP though.
he doesn't. Like it's crazy that Mahomes has only lost to Burrow once and Tom Brady twice, and every other year he wins the Super Bowl. It's so stupid.
This meme, and it was every year we move on from the Bengals versus the Rams Super Bowl. We should be more grateful every year that we see the Chiefs.
That was a great one.
Every year we just needed to be more grateful for that Super Bowl. Anyways, that's all I got for this. It's time for us to talk about the game, Colby. I know we're kind of dancing around the question here.
No, let's power through because this NBA stuff is going to be gold. Let's hit the Super Bowl.
All right. Let me pick up the energy here. All right. It's Super Bowl time, folks, and they're in New Orleans. A lot of people are saying this is going to come down to the kicker. A lot of people are saying Jalen Hurts have to play a perfect game. A lot of people are saying maybe Mahomes' ankle might actually be hurt this time. If you actually are saying that, you can go us off. Colby, I'll let you start your little Super Bowl soliloquy, and then I'll try and wrap it up.
Okay. If by soliloquy, you just mean my analysis or my prediction.
Sure. Whatever
I mean,
want.
I think it'll be a good game. Look, I mean, I hate to be this way, but it's going to be like every other Chiefs game where it's close. The Eagles seem like they have a chance to win, but they never really do, and the Chiefs just win because they always do. So that's what's going to happen. I think it'll be a good game. The Eagles are a great team. They have an incredible roster. Sirianni having like the best start to a coaching career is kind of wild. I mean, he doesn't have the ring yet, but like the best record or winning percentage since he's been in the league. Pretty impressive. I think it'll be a good game, but the Chiefs are going to win. They always win. Mahomes is going to do some perfect things at the end. They have the best coach. Great defense will make plays. It is what it is. That's my prediction.
Yeah, you sound like a man that's lost hope, Colby. And let me try and help you, give you some hope and everything. Because in these dark times, you need to at least find a way to root for the bad guys. And in my case, how can I find a way to root for the goddamn Eagles?
I was gonna
This is
say you.
why I actually didn't mind talking about this because, all right, there we go. I just sent the Zoom link. Now I can talk normal. All right. So the reason why I want to go for the Eagles is because of one reason. It's this goddamn storyline of a team and a player that I also didn't realize I was going to have to talk about and root for. Colby, you know what was the last three-peat? You probably heard it by now.
Jordan Bulls or no, the Lakers, Shaq and Kobe.
Yes, Shaq
Yeah.
and Kobe. I don't want the next big sports three-peat to be Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Taylor Swift imbued. No,
Can't
I
beat
can't
the
live with
Lord of
that.
Dark Magic.
No, yeah, it can't be done in dark magic. It can't be. So I'm sitting here saying, Eagles, don't do it for me. Don't do it for everyone. Don't do it for anyone, but one person. Do it for Kobe. Do it for Shaq, maybe too. I mean, God's sakes, protect the greatest, one of the greatest stories in
Take
sports.
care of us. That
What
was good though.
you got to remember, Kobe. Guess what Kobe was? Kobe.
That's true.
He was an Eagles fan.
Right. Okay. Good point. They also beat the AI Sixers pretty badly in one of those in the midst of that three-peat. So there might still be some hard feelings about that.
He was wearing his Eagles jacket when they won in 2017. There was no hard feelings. That's Kobe, man. So just saying, folks, if you need to find light at the end of the tunnel, I got you. I'm going with the Eagles winning 24-8.
8. Oh my goodness.
Kobe for Kobe.
I hope you're right. Wow.
For Kobe. Yeah, I didn't know that would fly over your head like that. For Kobe.
I like that. That was a good little case. I mean, I appreciate it. That's some solid content. I mean,
Realistically, that game's gonna be a
I'll
lot
say
closer.
Chiefs 23-20. Harrison Butker with Trump is building. Harrison Butker is going to get to come out there, and Trump is going to be in the building, his idol.
I know where you're going with this. His idol.
23-20.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. I knew exactly where you're going with this when you said his idol was going to be there. Goodness, that was a preseason, right? That was an off-season, preseason storyline that came out last year. That's crazy. Or was it a year before that?
Get another ring.
And he
Fourth
might get
ring.
another ring. He might still get away with it. And that's the thing. They're going to keep getting away with it, folks. They're just going to keep getting away with it. So, but there's always hope at the end of the tunnel. NFL, I hope you hear my plea, and you hear that. I mean, for God's sakes, man. Hands up. Can't say it that much. You said it last time. The refereeing wasn't that big of an issue, I guess, but it is a story that is easily contaminating everyone's minds, including mine sometimes. I'm not going to lie. I even find myself talking to people saying and talking about these refs. So let's try and not let them be a factor. I don't think, but every year it is. I mean, every year it seems like we find a way. So that's all I got for the Super Bowl, folks. Colby, any final remarks?
I hope I'm wrong and that you're right. I'll be pulling for the Eagles. I don't have a personal history of the Eagles, of hatred of the Eagles like you, so I understand why you are hesitant to have to root for them.
Like I said, I had to come up with a good reason.
It's yeah, it should be. I'm sure it'll be a good game. Oh, I do have one last thing actually to put a bullet on the Super Bowl. It's so ridiculous that they now released Super Bowl commercials ahead of time. Why are they doing that? They're like releasing
that.
They show them online ahead of time. Some have probably even like pretty much aired. Why are you doing that? It used to be, it was supposed to, that was a whole thing. It was part of the marketing. It's going to be surprise. Some of them would allegedly be good. Mostly they're not, but you know, you get some hits every now and then. Why are they releasing them all beforehand is ridiculous. It's not good for the spirit of the Super Bowl. So there, one more bad thing about the NFL.
Oh man, see this, Colby. I'm glad I have. What is it? Doritos, I think, had their Super Bowl commercial already.
Couple Bud Light, that Shane Gillis commercial, they already released it. That's their Super Bowl
I haven't
commercial.
seen
I think.
that one, and I haven't seen the Doritos one either. So I'm glad. I'm just glad that right now I'm just a YouTube guy, maybe, because I haven't seen many of the commercials. So there you go. I mean, hopefully it doesn't spoil for most other people, normal people. It probably has been spoiled. Let's be real. But
Some of them, it's not a big deal, but it's just stupid. Why are they doing that?
yeah, I agree. Why are they doing that? Anyways, because that's just ruining our nostalgia. Anyways, like for everyone. I mean, yeah, this is the first time I feel like that's happening.
You know how
So
much they're paying for those spots? Well,
not
why? Why?
anymore. It must have gone down if they're paying for it beforehand.
Still absurd amount.
Probably. It's Super Bowl Media Week at Colby. What can you say? Looks like they still got us here at Super Bowl Media Week. What can we say? But like how my take ended with basketball, it's time for us to get into the NBA trade deadline, Cole. This is about to be something special. Now, Colby, you said yourself you got something good for us to kick this thing off. And I think the best one to start it
Well,
off with is going to be Luca and the Lakers. Go ahead.
so I mean, obviously, just an unbelievable thing that happened. I don't know if you have a pre-prepared take on this as one of your eight, but bizarre. So we don't have to go through. I mean, I assume we both agree that it was a ridiculous trade, absurd thing for the Mavericks to ever do.
Yeah.
Um,
At the initial start, yes.
so let's go through just kind of quick initial reactions, and then I want to hit the best conspiracy theories about this because there's a couple potential conspiracies here in the
Well,
throw at you.
I like the one that's all about the owners and the gambling and all that.
Yeah,
That's the one that I'm buying into right now. Um, so they make the team suck so they can either get a casino or move it to Vegas. I think that's what it is.
Texas won't let him have a casino. The state of Texas.
Yeah, so they're gonna try and make the team suck so no one watches them and they move to Vegas. That's their end goal here. Um,
A good one.
However, let's just look at the basketball side of things, and this is where my initial reaction came from when the Mavericks did this. They're going for defense, and sadly for them, the day that they challenged their defense, they lose by 50. I think it was within the first half of the game. Um, Against the Cavaliers, of course, but they're one of the better Eastern teams that you might end up seeing in the finals that, I don't know, you were just a part of the previous year. So if you end up making the finals somehow off of this accredited defensive move, you have to beat this Cavs team. So right off the rip, not looking good.
It's the craziest thing that's ever happened. I was so mad when I woke up and saw that just because it's the
It
Lakers.
was the Lakers. Yeah.
It's
Well,
it's literally. I was thinking about if the next time I do tiers, maybe we'll do it next time. Like just putting, I
oh
might
yeah.
change after I see him play, but the Lakers, it's literally just the Jesse Pinkman meme from Breaking Bad, where it's just he can't keep getting away with this. It just happens all the time. It's so annoying, and the fact that it was this trade, Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 29 pick, one pick, no other players. An absurd thing to do to trade away a top three, worst case scenario, top four player in the league at 25.
Not like anything really for well, okay, hang
I
on.
mean, Anthony
They
Davis.
did something for him, yes.
Yeah,
I mean,
Anthony Davis has gotten disrespected because of how ridiculous the trade is, but that doesn't make it any less ridiculous.
yes, I think people are expecting maybe more picks. I feel like that would have at least made it a little better. I understand AD
Don't
Maxey.
put it all effort. Just keep.
I mean, you gotta also remember, folks, the Lakers didn't have that many picks to begin with. I'm pretty sure they didn't have that many.
Charlotte got more picks than Dallas did.
So that's insane. I don't know how Charlotte came up in this conversation that fast. I do have them. I think they were recipients on some end of some
The
trades.
Lakers. That's what I'm saying. They got a pick and a pick swap. The Mavericks didn't
Oh
even
yeah,
get
that's right. It was for Dalton Connect and everything.
one swap. Come on, that's crazy.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah, the fact, and also I did see the fact that they went for Mark Williams as their answer here for a big man. Very interesting. Very interesting. I mean, Dalton Connect played at Tennessee, so I feel like him going to Charlotte not going to be the worst thing at the end of the world. Same thing with Cam Reddish. So
I like it for Charlotte.
I like that trade for Charlotte, but for Dallas and for the Lakers right now, it's very interesting, man. I'm sitting there right there with you. Wasn't the happiest of campers, especially when you see that Christian just became a Lakers fan because he's just a Luka fan in general. So
Oh
that's
my
just going to be
god,
even more
he might
fuel to the
need to
flame.
have to have a temporary suspension for podcast appearance. He's going to be a Lakers fan. We have to hit him with. He's going to switch to the Lakers. We have to hit him with some sort of penalty. He needs to go back to the Wizards. They've won 3 straight.
Yeah, and I should also be rooting for Scoot Henderson because they're winners of 6 straight. But that back to the main point here being, man, AD has been getting disrespected this whole time. What the Mavericks do have is Kyrie, AD, Klay Thompson. I mean, they did just beat the Celtics without AD. So, I mean, that you could take the Celtics for what it's worth. I mean, they are the reigning champion. It's a tough pick. It's an interesting situation for both teams for sure. Will the Mavericks be a favorite going forward? I definitely think that it's gotten a little bit more swayed and more interesting in the West. By far, the West is way more open than before because if Luka was probably still on the Mavericks, it would be a hard knockoff for them. But now I feel like it just opens the door a little bit more, especially for the Thunder. I feel like that's the main carry up here is let's see if the Thunder play a game against the Mavericks. I'll do the research on that. So we can see if we can get another preview of what that matchup may look like without Luka. But I'm pretty sure that they just played and they didn't have Luka during that game. So you got any final takes before we move on?
I think Luka's playing tomorrow, or maybe
They said unlikely. It's unlikely he plays on Saturday.
Probably okay. So the next week. I mean, I'm not worried about Dallas. I think Dallas is cooked. They have to fight just to get into the playoffs. I mean, I understand like that they'll be a solid team, but Anthony Davis is currently out right now. Also, that's the other part of this trade that no one even. They're both literally injured.
He should be playing tomorrow. Anthony Davis, I think, said he should be playing tomorrow.
I just think Dallas offensively is gonna be so much worse now. I mean, as good as AD is, like I'm not worried about Dallas. The Lakers are a real threat, which is annoying, except for the fact that they can't guard anybody. So they're gonna have to figure that one out. Dorian Finney-Smith is nice, but they have Luka and LeBron, so they're gonna have a shot. I feel good about Denver's chances, except I'm annoyed that they didn't make any trade deadline moves.
Right there with you, brother.
But yeah, but I mean, I also think the Wolves are playing better as well. Denver's young guys have improved. The Lakers Mavs thing, the Lakers are going to be annoying. They have a shot. I don't think ultimately they'll get out of the West just because as good as LeBron and Luka are, the two big contenders that is going to be, in my opinion, Denver and OKC. And ultimately, like those teams have been playing together for years versus this team that was just put together as great as they are. And the fact that they don't have anyone that can really guard except for Finney-Smith. So the Mark Williams thing.
Is that 13 real quick? Sorry, I didn't hear the 13. You said Nuggets, Thunder, and
the Lakers.
Oh, you said Lakers.
I picked the Lakers over probably everyone else in the West except the Nuggets and Thunder in a series.
Look, I would love to get my little playoff take, but for me, it all comes down, especially in the West, it's so matchup dependent. All right, like I would say my 3 right now in the West would be the Thunder, Grizzlies. I will definitely give the nod to the Grizzlies. And then, like I said, very matchup dependent. But if it happens and sways in their way, I wouldn't be surprised if the Timberwolves found a way also to be that 3rd team and everything. So I feel like it's very matchup dependent, just like how the Nuggets would probably steamroll the Lakers if they had a chance to match up with them early. I feel like that one would be a little bit because of the size, and Jokic will probably have a better game. But if the Nuggets were to play the Timberwolves, how would that look? Like it's almost like that. But if the Timberwolves played the Grizzlies, I would have a feeling that the Grizzlies would beat the Timberwolves like they have been doing these last couple of years. You know, they just seem to have our number, just like how you seem to have the Lakers number. So I feel like the West is just so matchup dependent. And I did just finish my look up here. The Mavericks have already played the Thunder 4 times, so we'll not see another preview of what this team would do against the Thunder, sadly. Um, and I would honestly I was about to say, it used to be the Mavericks were the Thunder's check and everything. So we're going to find out what's going to happen here and everything. Right now, if we're going to say, without regarding any matchups, just looking at who is top 3 right now, I would still have to argue to put the Grizzlies in there, man. I think with just what they do without
Oh,
John Morant too, and then when you add them into the equation at any given time, it's just not fair. They are literally almost a better team without him. And then when you add them on, it's actually like, oh snap, that equation is just thrown out the window. They're actually like they're supposed to be a team. So. And yeah, I would start with those two, and I would also agree just having Jokic is just a huge factor for the Nuggets right now. I would probably have you guys
no.
over us. I would have you guys over us easily. So yeah, I would keep it. I would go chalk. I would go chalk right now. 1, 2, 3. I think is correct.
Memphis, I would be 4 to me. I mean, look, they have a shot, I guess. They have a great team, but they are so unproven compared to all the other. I mean, I know OKC is kind of unproven, but they have SGA is far better than anyone in Memphis. No disrespect to Jared and Ja, they're incredible. But so I would have Memphis. I got to tell you, I may regret
This is 2 seed. They're not going to
I
see
may
them until
come
the
to
end.
regret saying this. I don't want to talk trash, but like that's the path I'm looking at for as a Denver fan is 2-3 with Memphis, win the first round, Memphis second round, and then only have to deal with one of OKC or the Lakers in the conference finals. Would be that's the ideal path. Lakers
Yeah.
4-5, Thunder Lakers second round, Nuggets get Memphis. I like our no disrespect.
Oh, I
I
agree.
love Memphis's team.
The respect was there, Colby. I don't know what you mean. The respect was there because
Yeah.
you didn't even say my team. The respect was there. You didn't mention the Wolves wanted to be on your path. The respect is there because that's you
Yeah,
said
I
you
know.
were on your ideal path.
I would
So the
much rather
respect is there.
play the Grizzlies and the Wolves in a series for sure, just because of the history and the matchups. 100%. Like,
Yeah.
I'm the Grizzlies. Jokic, I think, just usually torches them. They beat the Grizzlies once without Jokic this year. I mean, I think the Grizzlies didn't have their full team either, but like, I like that matchup much more.
Yeah. Like I said, the West is very matchup heavy. It's not like out East where it's like, yeah, it's probably going to be Cavs versus Celtics, and maybe the Pacers could throw their hat into the ring,
Uh,
you know.
Go New York, go New York, go! Don't forget about
Come
them.
on, dude. Don't break my heart like that. Come on. We don't have to bring out New York and the Cats. Come on. No bing bong, no nothing. Come on. They didn't make a move either. Come on. Like they didn't make a move this
Me
trade
too.
deadline. New York.
Play? They're stacked.
Exactly. They didn't make a move either. So come on. Like the good teams didn't make a move. Let's just start with that. Maybe
Uh,
that's even though the Thunder did make a move as well.
sorry, we got so far away from the Luca
Yes, we
Lakers.
did.
Fine. No, that was good. That was, I think, a good conversation about the West and everything. I do want to go through the other conspiracy theories that I've thought of quickly for you. I'm not
Yeah, go
saying,
ahead. I already did the casino one.
yeah, the casino one I agree is the best. That one's very interesting and scandalous. The obviously most chalk one is the league made them do it so that the Lakers will be good because they saw the ratings were going down.
This RDC one.
And Adam Silver probably loved that happened in the middle of Super Bowl, right before Super Bowl week, blew up the media coverage. So that's the most popular one. It's the Lakers. There's the history of some of the refs with the Lakers in the early 2000s. So, like we all know the deal with the Lakers and the ratings and all that. So that's the biggest conspiracy. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, oh yeah, no, that was probably the initial. That was my initial theory. I was like, of course, it was the Lakers. Of course, they're getting their superstar. Of course, they're getting
Yeah.
this during this whole Super
So
Bowl
that's
media.
a basic one. There's some
Mhm.
others though. So the other one that I think is possible because this weird like negotiations like Nico Harrison Palinka buddy buddy. Another one that I like is does Rob Palinka have dirt on Nico Harrison? Does he like did he blackmail him to do this trade? He knows something that Nico Harrison did or was a part of that he doesn't want to come to light, and so he blackmailed him to make him this trade. Again, that's a conspiracy. I'm not saying I believe that, but like it was just such a bizarre thing to do. Just like
Because I did hear, no, that could be a theory because I did hear they used to work together because Nico Harrison, I think, was in charge of Kobe's Like he was in charge of Kobe and Nike and that whole little deal thing going on with the Lakers. So he was there when Kobe and them were getting that thing going. So he's definitely responsible. He definitely has connections with the Lakers prior to even being with the Mavs. So that is something to take concern. I haven't read into that deep, but I have read that they have a little butt buddy relationship going on there.
So that's one. I can't think of too many more. The only other one I can think of, it's not really a fun one, but not that any of those are necessarily fun. But I don't believe this is the case. I don't think. But the other one would just be the Mavs team doctors. Like Hush Hush was like, yo, like this guy's habits, and which I think that's probably overblown. He's still incredible, but maybe there's more like going on that you don't know about behind the scenes, and the team doctors are like, his body's not going to hold up. Like there's a breakdown coming sooner than you think. I
Did he
don't
look
believe
like his dad too
any
much? That
conspiracies,
has to be
but
the only
that
other.
could be another conspiracy theory.
Yeah. Like, does he look like his dad too much? Is that what the doctors are saying? He's gonna turn out like his pops, and there's no way to stop it. He doesn't have that LeBron anti-aging gene. I think that's what they're trying to tell him. Which I pray Anthony Edwards has, by the way, folks. I think the kid's special. We'll get into him near the end of this probably, but yeah, I love those conspiracy theories altogether, man.
Got any others? I'm trying to think. Is there anything I've missed?
Um, I think I've heard all those ones that you expanded on them better than I have for sure because I haven't seen too many of them. I've seen the biggest one I've seen was the casino one, and I really bought into that one, and I probably just wrote off every other one that I've seen because, like I said, the NBA and the Lakers and their ratings, that was my initial conspiracy theory, and then when that one was plopped onto my table about the casinos, and they gave like a good breakdown of what their like how the owners acted and stuff and how they are in the gambling business. That is when I was like, oh, it all makes sense. All makes sense. So that one made sense for me, and yeah, that one clicked for me and everything. So I think you hit them all. Personally, I think you hit them all. So
Crazy
all
him
right,
and I hate the Lakers, but you
yeah,
gotta respect it. I
okay,
mean,
we got some good
just
ones, Colby.
won back all his cred. People have been coming at Palinka's neck for years. And now to have this under his belt, it's just like the ultimate, and just get handed to him by his buddy. It's crazy.
He was almost out the door. He was almost out the door, Palinka,
Master,
and
master. Now he's the master. What the
yeah,
world?
he might go down in the Hall of if they pull off a ring with this trade, he might go down in the Hall of Fame as a Hall of Fame GM because he pulled off this trade and the AD trade. Like this dude's gonna be
Okay, the AD trade, they gave up a lot more. It didn't necessarily work out for the Pelicans, but like the AD trade was way better return the Pelicans got than the Mavs got in this.
I don't know, man. Zion hasn't been doing much.
Well, they didn't get Zion in that trade. I'm saying that's why I said it didn't work out for the Pelicans, but it was a good haul in theory.
Thought that was the number one pick that came from the Lakers, right?
No, they got lucky in the lottery with their own pick that same year. It was all the other stuff they got from the Lakers. That's what they got. Like it was. I'm just doing it off the top of my head, but it was essentially Zion, Brandon Ingram, Josh
Yeah.
Hart, and I think a bunch of draft picks. There might have been one other player in it.
I forgot Josh Hart was a
No,
Pelican.
draft picks are terrible. Some of them aren't on. One of them was Dyson Daniels. That was a good one. You
That was
trade
a
him
solid one, yeah.
to you traded him to the Hawks though. So it was
Yeah, I was about to say it didn't
Hawks.
last long. All right. Speaking of the Hawks, you actually mentioned this one went under my radar. And when you said it in our group chat, I was like, damn, that is a good trade. The Hawks lost DeAndre Hunter to the Cavs, Colby. That is interesting because DeAndre Hunter, I was just watching him play against the Wolves like a couple weeks ago. He was pretty solid because I'm pretty sure Trae Young wasn't really doing that good. So he was actually, playing some solid ball these last couple weeks. He's been playing solid ball. That's DeAndre Hunter. He's like a consistent near double guy. He's very very consistent on the low end, on the low mid scale spectrum. So I feel like that's a good pickup, especially when you look at the names that they traded him for. Karis LeVert, who I used to like a lot when he was on the Nets. Same thing with George Niang when he was on the Sixers. So it makes sense that they kind of won that trade, the Cavs. But it makes sense, Colby, because here's the part two to this. The Hawks also let go Bogdan Bogdanovic. So I feel like this is our opportunity. Before we go on to the Cavs or the Clippers, we got to talk about our Hawks, man. We actually kind of like talking about them here. So what's going on with the Hawks?
I think they might have forgot that they don't have their pick this year. It seems like they're taking. I mean, in retrospect, if you think like you're not going to keep those guys long term, season's gone to hell. You want to just get some return. I guess I understand it. The Bogdanovich thing, he's having his worst year. It doesn't really make sense as a fan. I totally get that one. The Hunter thing, like I would have liked to keep him. He's having his best year, but I mean, I guess I understand. They think if it's not long term, might as well just get something. It's great for the Cavs, and I love it for DeAndre Hunter. His life is about to get so much better as a player, just like on the court. Like a team that swings the ball and plays defense and has just awesome four. He's gonna be out there with four incredible players, four all-star players, and a great coach. So so happy for Atkinson. He deserves this. Our Hawks, I mean, it's pretty simple to me now. They're like, well, season's going downhill anyways. Let Risa Shea cook. They lost Jalen Johnson. That was the bullet in the head for their season. They were really interesting when he was playing. He's their best young player. So with him going down for the year is brutal, and it made them a non-threat. So yeah, now they're just gonna let Risa Shea cook. I think he's gonna get all those wing minutes. I mean, he's been starting, but like now he's gonna be out there full like Trae Young starters minutes. He's got to ball out, and I think eventually will. I like Risa Shea a lot. I don't think that was a bad pick in this weird draft. But yeah, so that's what they're doing. They're letting Risa Shea cook. The season's going to go badly. I mean, he's 19, and their team is bad outside of a couple other guys. They've lost a lot, but.
Do you think this is the end, Colby? Are they going to fall down the tiers list? And this is initially our goodbye to the Hawks here. No, we don't have no play-in Hawks. No, we don't get to see that this season.
No, I'm wrong about that.
Really?
They're still going to be in the play-in, I think, just because they can only fall so far. That bottom of the East is squishy. The rest, so let me give you real quick, just off the top of my head.
You do it off the top of your head. I'll pull it up.
They're currently 9th, I believe.
Yep.
They have Philly and Chicago below them. Chicago is also trading away their players for not much. They just gave away their best player for some meh role players and their own pick in that 3-teamer Fox deal, which I know we'll get to probably later. So Chicago, they're competing with. Look at the rest of those teams. It's Charlotte, Toronto, Washington. There's one other one I think that's really bad.
The Nets. You're forgetting the Nets. Yeah. You hit them all but the Nets.
None of those teams are going to be making any runs. You at least still have Trae Young. Risa Shea, I think, will get to play a play-in game, get some experience under his belt. The Hawks are right where they, same as they ever were, right in the play-in. Trae Young, playing GOAT, like we always say. He's there. He might be the 10 seed, but he'll be there.
He probably will be the 10 seed. I guess it's too early to write him off for sure. I don't think the Sixers are going to collect it together. Well, they might push past the Bulls. We'll talk about them here in a little bit.
I mean, there's 10 spots and 15 in the conference, and 5 teams are actively trying to lose. So you should, as long as you're trying not to get it better, you're just trying to win, you'll probably still be within the top 10.
That's the difference between the East and the West, man. The East is like their bottom 5 have already committed to tanking. The West, it's like if you're in the bottom 5, you somehow still have a chance almost.
The Blazers are even going ham. They're 13th. They're cooking everybody.
Exactly. They've been cooking the Wolves this season. Trust me, I've been getting pissed watching those games.
The Blazers would 100% be a play-in team in the East. They might get into the real playoffs if they were in the East.
Would have been in the real playoffs. They're 23-29. They would be in the play-in. That's a great argument. So yeah, Hawks will probably be in the play-in still. I guess that doesn't change that story. Come on, Lee, dude. I just can't believe that this is how they're just going to be the play-in might have been made for Trae Young. That's what I'm starting to believe in right now. The play-in just might have been. Because you're telling me,
because he's pretty good this year. I think he's been less of a ball hog. I think he's had a good year.
That's good. Yeah, it sounds like some a good improvement. I mean, the other side of this though, they are getting some notable names. They're getting, like I said, George Niang, Karis LeVert, but also Terrence Mann. He used to be good, pretty solid. And your boy, Bones Hyman. I think so. Yeah, gotta mention Bones, man. Come on.
Yeah.
You remember those days?
Huh?
Remember those days where you used to be
Oh,
rooting for Bones?
remember. He was gonna get to come off the bench on the championship team, but he was mad that they were playing Jamal Murray instead of him. So he got made a stink, and then he went to the Clippers to not play. So
It
yeah,
made complete sense. It made complete sense at the time
but he's
too.
better than Jamal Murray.
All right, and we're gonna go ahead and turn. We pretty much already sprinkled about Cavs. Do you want to do you want to expand on the Cavs anymore,
Uh,
or the Clippers for getting Bogdan? Even though you already said Bogdan's been struggling this season.
Not the Clippers really. The Cavs, the only other thing I'd say with them is just man, like they're an incredible team, and that trade also just feels like it was literally because normally would make a trade when you're this good. It feels like it was literally just we're gonna have to play Boston in the playoffs. Like we need a wing that can go hard, that can hit threes, spot up threes. Felt like literally a trade that you make specifically for you're talking about matchups earlier with the West. Feels like a trade you made specifically for when you have to play Boston. And I mean, I guess the Knicks too do have Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, and Anunoby. So it makes sense. That was a good trade.
All right, all right. So that was a little bit of Eastern action here. Um, let's keep it a little bit East-West relationship going on. Because afterwards we can go back to the West. But for right now, let's keep it East-West. We got Jimmy finally moving teams. Um, and it is the Warriors, folks. It is the Warriors. The Warriors are giving up a lot. They are giving up Andrew Wiggins, Slow-Mo Anderson,
Yeah.
aka Kyle Anderson, and Davion Mitchell, which I was surprised the Heat got Davion Mitchell. I thought that guy was I thought he was,
Toronto. Yeah,
huh?
Toronto was on. Wasn't he on Toronto?
Yeah, I think he was on Toronto. Or so because yeah, this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 5 team trade, Colby. Um, let's talk about the two teams though that probably got the most involved here, and that is the Heat and the Warriors. I guess really everyone likes to pick at this and say the Heat won the trade because the Warriors gave so much and they're the same. Is there any real ground being made here, Colby, for the Warriors?
Yes. Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay.
This was a
Okay.
good trade. I mean, they were desperate. They tried every
Yes.
star in the league. They tried every which way. The crazy story, I'm sure you've probably seen, had a deal lined up for KD that originally was a three-teamer to get KD back, and he said, "Nah, I don't want to go there. I
Draymond.
will be happy if you trade me there."
He said,
So
I ain't going to deal with Draymond's BS anymore.
it's so funny. I love that KD did that. Um, I like KD. I respect who he is. I like.
He said no,
Push me
not that he
I
broke
love
the league for 4 or 5 seasons. And the league was just a gloomy, dark place like the NFL. No, you don't blame him for that. You still don't have any resentment for that.
I mean, I was upset when he did it, yeah. But I feel like the fact that
Oh,
he left.
I'm upset at him right now because he could have been a wolf. That was the other trade that came up with this news.
Well, I don't think that was probably his decision.
Could
I
have been
think
a
they
wolf,
probably didn't
man.
like the trade. I think he could still be a Wolf come the summer. Don't give up hope.
Yeah, come summer. I'm believing in the summer. I'm with you. But back to this trade. Sorry, had to step in there.
The Warriors, I think, I'll say you said they made up ground. They have, but not. I don't think they're a title contender. But to me, they're now the ultimate. God, I hope they're not the 8th seed. If I'm OKC, that's probably the worst case scenario 8th seed for this awesome but young OKC team. Draymond, Steph, and Jimmy Butler, all those playoff minutes and moments. So it definitely made them more dangerous. They had no second score at all, so that really changes things. And it's crazy that they didn't have to give up any of their young guys that they love so much. So they still got Kuminga. I don't think they can win 2 rounds. I would be shocked if they made round 3. but I think they could certainly be an absolute bitch to play in round one if you're one of the top seeds. So they made up ground in that way. Versus before, I didn't even think they were going to make the playoffs if they did nothing.
Definitely see them making the top 10. I don't know what's going on with the Kings right now. Um, we'll talk about them because they did get a little involved as well in the trade game. Actually, they were, which one were they involved in? They weren't involved in this one. They were
Kings
involved
did a
in,
lot. They were busy.
yeah, they were involved in the next big trade that we're going to talk about. So yeah, I was about to say they were busy, so we don't know what's going on with the Kings. So that bottom four right now, let me read you off the bottom four. It's Clippers, Mavericks, Suns, Kings, with both the Warriors right knocking on the door, and the other fun team that we get to talk about here in a minute, being the Spurs, folks. Anyways, do the Warriors get better, in my opinion? I feel like you said everything right, Colby, right there. Like, yeah, they got veterans, they got the playoff experience. Can they get there? As I'm trying to say here, that's what I'm really going at. Can they get there? Because the Spurs also made a move. The Kings, like you said, have been making moves. The Suns, however, they're probably going to be a little ground tested with all the moves that weren't made for them, besides Nurkic, unless you really think Nurkic was the real answer to move off the team. If so, let me talk to whoever's been dealing with dealing your stuff there, buddy. But anyways, I don't know. In the West, it's brutal. I don't know how much this really helps. He is aging. It's probably a win now situation, so they might find a way to finesse their way into that 10 spot. It's gonna be a deal where they're gonna celebrate that they just barely made the play in, probably. And they'll be a threat, like you said. But on the flip side of this, the other team that's pretty much on the major side of this coin, the Heat. They got Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, and Davion Mitchell. All I heard was the Heat just got some pretty nice household name role players to give to Spo. That's all I hear. All I hear is Spo get some more fun little toys to play with. Spo might find a way to get Andrew Wiggins cooking again. I mean, who knows what can happen with these three guys? One of them is going to pop off, probably. That's what I get out of this. What are your thoughts for the Heat moving off of Jimmy Butler and getting these three guys?
Yeah, I thought, I mean, listen, had they done it in the summer before everything got bad, they probably would have gotten more. So you got to knock them for that. But as far as with the situation becoming what it had and how bad it had gotten, I thought that was, yeah, a very good return to get under the circumstances. They also get the Warriors, I think it's top 10 protected pick this year. It's a good draft, and you're the Heat. So that's probably going to be anywhere from 12 to 17 range, 18 range. And the Heat have shown to be good at drafting in the middle rounds. The kid they drafted this year is a stud. That he wasn't playing the whole first part of the year, Kalel Ware. Now he's been had some 2010 really nice games. He's a nice big man that plays with Bam, can hit threes. So they draft well. They're deep. I totally agree with you. Eric Spoelstra with the role players. I think the Wiggins Spoelstra is going to be great for Andrew Wiggins, and also they also just I think get a bump just from the vibe shift. They don't have to worry about this anymore. They don't have to answer questions every day about Jimmy Butler. They don't have to. The other players don't have to be on the team like, what is going to happen today? What's he going to do next? And Hero deserving All-Star breakout year. So I think the vibe shift is going to help them too. It's going to be great vibes in Miami the rest of the way this year.
Yeah. I think this is going to be good times in Miami for them as well. Oh, it all just seems like it's just the turning of a new leaf. Yeah, it didn't end as pretty, like you said, and I like the fact that you mentioned that. Yeah, they probably could have gotten this done in the summer if they were a little bit more, I don't know, agreeable to some terms. Both sides. Let's be real. It's probably both sides because Jimmy did do it to himself. Let's be real. So, because at first he didn't even want to go to the Warriors. He wasn't going to sign. He wasn't even going to sign an
He's
extension.
acting wild. Some of
Yeah,
his
he was acting so crazy. So it's
Memphis. That would have been way better.
that would have been crazy if he went to Memphis. I would have been a little upset, actually. I would have been very upset if he went to Memphis. Warriors I can live with, but Memphis I would have been pissed. I would have been pissed. As a Wolves fan, you can understand I would have been a little upset. So do you want to talk about the younger scraps here that got traded around on this five-teamer or not? Just move on because the Jets did get their pick.
The
Silence
who?
I'll take as a message to move
Oh
forward.
wait, no, you cut out for a second. Who kept their pick?
The Jazz. The Jazz ended up getting another second round pick out of this.
Oh yeah, the Jazz. Yeah, the jokes about the Jazz just being in every trade are hilarious, and the Danny Ainge having to get in on everything.
My
It's
favorite one is like
funny.
they're like talking shop and everything, and the Jazz just snag a water bottle while they're walking out of the room. Just like it's like a second round pick, and they're just out. So
I saw
that's
one where it's like the Jazz in every trade, and it's have you seen the one where it's the two guys moving like a piece of furniture, a couch or something, and there's a third guy who's just like barely putting his hands on it, like acting like he's trying to help.
just to get that second round pick, baby. Just there to get that second round pick. Um, in the Pistons, if you want to wrap this trade up, really, I think I might be wrong on this, Colby. You might have to check my navigation, I guess, in this case. Is Schroeder now a Piston,
Yes.
right? That's where he
Yeah,
ends
after
up
being
at.
traded like 3 times, Dennis
Poor
Schroeder,
guy.
when the dust settled, Dennis Schroeder was in Detroit, which I like for him in a vacuum. It was a nice little backup guard. Cade's
It's gonna be
cooking.
nice to have. That's gonna be good to have for Detroit. I feel like that's gonna be a positive move, especially when they're in the 8 spot. I mean, hopefully he can give them some help there. So, all right, to the team that I mentioned before, and sprinkled a little bit of fun on. We'll be able to get to them to start this last one here. Whereas we got a couple minutes left on the Zoom here. So let's get into it.
Yeah.
The Spurs, they're clapping because guess what? Fox had the courage to do it. And he said, I'm tying my career to someone that is elite and special.
Yeah.
It is going to be the San Antonio Spurs acquiring De'Aaron Fox from the Kings and a 3-team trade. We'll see what we can do on Zoom 3. All right, Zoom 3, like I just mentioned, is about to start now, folks, because Colby, it was the Kings and the Bulls all a part of this first trade. As I just mentioned, De'Aaron Fox getting sent over there, and Jordan McLaughlin, for those of you that care, like I do. And the Kings, they get Zach LaVine. I don't know the guy's first name, but I wrote down his last name, Sissoko, and a bunch of picks. That's literally what I wrote down. And the Bulls got some role players because I ran out of space on my paper.
And the Bulls got their own pick for sure back. That was
I
the
saw
only
that.
pick they got.
I picked that.
They were probably going to keep it anyway, but now they get to keep it for sure. Never have to convey it. So that's good. Yeah, the Bulls part is kind of the most fun part to talk about for me, but we'll go last with that because it's just funny the things that the Bulls have done.
Well, let's
But
start with the good stuff then. And in this case, that's going to be, like I mentioned earlier, De'Aaron Fox putting his pretty much his career on the line with Wemby. So, what are your thoughts? What were your thoughts on that and everything?
I mean, the Spurs are set now. Because the fact that they were able to convince Chicago to get in on this and give LaVine, because the Spurs, this is kind of a fleecing for De'Aaron Fox. If you look what they gave up, but it's weird because they didn't really completely fleece the Kings, but they just got another team to give the Kings their main piece that they wanted. I'll get to the Kings in a second. They're set up now. I think ultimately because you went through how brutal the West is, probably because they're behind, it's going to be tough to actually get into the playoffs this year, even with this trade, I think. But long term, they are going to be a problem because Wemby's incredible. And they kept all their young guys. They kept Sohan, Vassell, and Castle, who I think is the best of the three. The rookie from
you
this.
forgot Keldon Johnson. God dang it, Colby.
Keldon Johnson Castle's the best of all of them.
Now he is
This is
now.
the whole list. It's vast. Vassell and Castle. Sohan is scrappy. And yeah, Keldon Johnson's solid. They kept all those guys, and the biggest thing that's surprising, they kept all the Hawks picks. Of the picks they gave, none of them were Hawks picks. So they still have the Hawks pick this year, which again, I still think they'll be the 10 seed at least. So that's probably only like 10 or 11. But still, all the West playing teams are way better than the Hawks. So yeah, that's like 10 or 11. You have a chance to move up in the lottery. You never know. And they still have all the future Hawks picks. Who knows what the Hawks are going to be? We've had many a conversation. I kind of like their young core, so I don't know how great those picks will be, but we'll see. So they're not having to give up any of the Hawks picks is surprising, and keeping all their young guys. They're set. That's gonna be a problem.
Yes, that is the number one thing that went through my mind as well. When I saw this trade, they are going to be a problem. And I think did they already extend De'Aaron Fox too, right? Did that come with the trade? They extended him as
I
well.
didn't see that. I'm not sure, but I'll double check.
But
They
either
will.
way, it's pretty much expected that he will probably be extending his career there as well.
They picked them,
I know
so
they're a couple games behind. They were the 11, and they're 11 right now, or 12. Sorry, they're at the 12 spot. They're right behind the Warriors. I really think that this team, if there's any team that can make a chance or a push for a run or anything crazy like that, it could be the Spurs. But I feel
they'd
like they're
also
still.
be annoying 8 seed to have to play.
Oh yeah, they would be definitely a tough game to play. They'll be a tough out as an A seed. Um, ooh, that makes me want to check their record against because I mean that would actually be an electric 8 versus 1. Chet versus Wemby, that rivalry. Oh man, that would be good. That would be a good one. Dort has and SGA would have to find a way to stop the Aaron Fox for 7 games. That would be pretty interesting. I can buy into that one. That's an interesting one there, Colby, that you threw out there. It would be a tough 8 seed out. So especially if we get to see Chet versus Wemby for a few games. Um, yeah, that's all I got for the Spurs, man. I don't know what's going to happen really going forward. We'll see if CP3 can work his magic like he usually does with these young teams and make them into a play-in team. But I don't know. I think that it's like I said, the West is just so brutal. Maybe they're a year out before they can do anything crazy like that. And that's crazy to even think about that. Just making a play in is almost a honor in the West. It's like it's an achievement in itself, especially when you got the Blazers winning 6 games in a row and looking like the best team in the West right now.
The Blazers have been going crazy, yeah. And the guys are probably pissed. They were all probably playing so hard to try to get traded, and now they're all still there. So we'll see if it lasts. But yeah, the Blazers have talent. For the fact that
Yeah.
they're 14th is shows you how deep the league is. Like how many good basketball players there are. It's if you go back, if you think about like when I first started watching basketball, like the early 2010s, like 09, 2010, 2011. If
Yeah.
you go back and look, like the 13th best team in the West, whatever it was then, like this Blazers team would annihilate. Like they have a ton of talent. There's just so many good players in the league.
Oh man. And that's a very good point. I mean, it is just tough all around in the West. And I guess this is a little bit off track here. Colby, they can make this could be an argument that Adam Silver can throw onto the table and say maybe we need to tear down these Western Eastern conferences and just make it best out of the best. Like I feel like that's what they were tossing around at one point. I know it's crazy. I mean, but maybe we just do best of the best. It would all shape up almost the same. It's just, the Western teams will finally get their appreciation finally. It's still, the West just beating the out of each other nonstop until, one team has to limp their way into the Eastern Conference and just get dogged on. But, unless, you got Jokic, apparently. I feel like Jokic, or
I
AD or
disagree with
something.
you. See, even as someone who's like my team's in the West, I disagree. I've always been against that. I'm of the opinion that
My team should be in the East.
I know some of it has worked. I don't think he's terrible by any means, but he's doing too much. Talking about they need to change the quarters to 10 minutes because the games are too long. That was ridiculous. The games are too long because you spend like so much time reviewing plays and calling fouls. That's why the games are long. Don't change the
Yes.
quarters. Don't call as many fouls and don't take 10 minutes to do a review. Talk about the quarters. Give you a break. And the all-star stuff. It doesn't matter. They're not going to try. Just let it be East versus West and they don't try. Who cares? The NFL doesn't even play a real game anymore for their Pro Bowl. At least you're still playing. It is what it is. I think they're going to try hard now because they're doing this stupid 4 teams of 8 format. Give me a break. They're not. It's going to be the same.
You see, the
Like,
prize pool was like only like a
I
million and a
understand
half.
that you're frustrated. He went in there and gave him a whole speech last year, and Luka and Jokic were like, I really wish we could be throwing back some beers right now, not having to play in this stupid game. I'm not going to play hard, Adam Silver. It's not how we do things in Europe. So yeah, it is what it is. You've been doing too much. It's fine. The
That's
product
exactly it.
honestly is as good as it's ever been, besides a few minor flaws. Just
Did you see that so even though they picked out these four teams and it was a whole quote unquote, I'm putting this in quotes, a draft because each team had a theme. I'm pretty sure it was like Chuck
yeah,
had all the international players,
yeah.
uh, Kenny had all the young stars, Shaq had Team USA, and then Candace has the actual Rising Stars team.
Now the
Like,
health
are
Rising
we kidding
Stars might
ourselves
be,
right now?
yeah.
Like,
Rising Stars might be out there going ham. So that's the one part of
very
it that
well, they actually have something to play for.
yeah.
That's some-
But it's gonna be like imagine if I guess the like I don't know
Him and
who
Anthony Edwards. That's probably going to be the Anthony Edwards team versus Rising Stars. It's probably going to be
nah,
the only
Anthony
thing I
Edwards was
watch.
there last year. He didn't care either. He was looking at Jokic and Luka, who are the best players in the world, and they're like, "This
He was
is
the captain
stupid."
last
He's
year.
like,
This
"All
year
right,
he's
you're
the
right. This
captain.
is stupid."
He was the number one. He was the number one pick last year. This year he was the number one pick for Team Kenny. So he has to step up. It's just, we'll get into
Well,
All Star
I
talk next
totally
week. We'll
understand why
really need to get
Anthony
into All
Edwards
Star next
would like
week.
a break from playing serious basketball when he's been watching Julius Randle dribble for 3 months or however long,
Stop.
and
You
he's
can't
trying
take
to
it
carry the team
serious
every
when you see
night.
when you bring up Julius Randle and dribbling. Nothing can be taken seriously. All right. So, any more things you got to say about the Spurs before we move on to the other two teams here?
Nah, let's hit it. The other two teams are more fun, in my opinion, to talk about anyway.
Okay. Okay. So, what's going on with the
Spurs are
Bean
just
team?
set.
The
The
Bean
Spurs,
team
like,
got Zach Levine and Mar linking up again. So, what's going on with that?
so, I mean, it's ultimately not going to go anywhere serious, but I totally understand the Kings wanting to not do another full rebuild and just go like an all picks package. And because like they've made the playoffs once in 20 years, they've been doing that for so long. Um, and they've had a like, especially it sucks that the whole Fox trade happened after they pulled their season and turned it around. They were on such a streak with their new coach Doug Christie. Um, so I totally get it. It's a weird team. I also kind of under like with the other moves they made, they're just pretty deep now. They added Valanciunas and Jake LaRavia from Memphis, who I think will help them. Both of those guys. It's kind of weird because they don't really have a true point guard anymore. Like Levine is not a true point guard, really. Neither is like Malik Monk, but they have a lot of good players. Um, they're like a slightly better version of the Bulls when they had Levine and DeRozan because instead of Vucevic, they have Sabonis and they have better role players.
Yeah, Keegan Murray. He cooked the Wolves a couple days ago.
So, I mean, I think they'll be in the mix. I don't know if they'll make the play in. Like we said, it's tough out there, but I think they'll be fighting until the bitter end. And I'm
Mhm.
happy for Levine that he at least gets to be on a slightly better team now. We'll see what he can do. Can he actually make the real playoffs? It's gonna be tough,
Real
but
playoffs.
in the playoffs one time in his entire career, which is crazy.
And I think that was that with the Wolves?
No, it
Or
was with
no?
the Bulls. The
He
Bulls
did
made
pull
it
it off with
one
the
year.
Bulls.
It was the year they started so well, and then Alonzo got hurt, and they
Oh
went
yeah,
to
we
one.
traded him way back. We
Lost to
traded
the
him
Bucks in
way back.
5 games, and the Bucks like I think only had Chris Middleton for like a game or two in that series, and the Bucks still just worked. So he's played like 5 playoff games as long as he's been in the league, which is crazy. For
Yeah,
how
he's
good.
been in the league for a long time. 'Cause, yeah, the Wolves. I think we sent him over there. Was he?
Jim,
Yeah, he was part of the Jimmy Butler trade, right?
yeah, him
Yeah,
and Mark.
he got sent over. That yeah, that was a long time ago. Jeez. Um, yeah, I don't really got much to say about the Kings, so I'm glad you got to be able to expand on them. And you were really excited to talk about these Bulls. So I'll
Yeah.
let you go ahead and finish up on this trade right here
So
all together.
it's hilarious and it's unfortunate because Zach Levine is having a great year. This is like I think the best year he's ever had, in my opinion. He's looked really good. Um, but this contract is just so much. So it really just goes to show like I don't know what offers they've had on the table for Zach Levine in the past, but clearly they held on to him for too long. So they basically just got some role players and they got a protection off their own pick, which they probably weren't going to need, but you never know. Um, So it sucks you didn't get more for Levine, but you're going to be worse. And I'm just happy about it. The main reason I want to talk about it is because the one bright spot for all of this Bulls fans, as desolate as it may seem, this does clear the way for my guy Buzelis. My
You
guy.
are cooking on this take right now.
First game after Levine got traded, he had like 24. He played like actually a bunch of minutes. When he's out there, he plays well. I liked him better than pretty much everyone in the draft last year. I think I had him number 2, if I remember the rankings. He went 11th. I like him, and he's effective when he's out there. He can do a lot. I think he's gonna be a good player. Save him, Kobe White, Josh Giddey. I mean, maybe. But I'm just happy that Buzelis now is going to actually get real playing time because I think he's has a chance to be as good as anyone in this draft.
There you go. And he's in the dunk contest. Don't forget. He did make the dunk contest.
Athlete.
Yeah. He's making white boys everywhere be inspired in Chicago. And that's another thing. Every time I see his name, I'm like, damn, Kobe's just getting one step closer and closer to getting that draft pick correct. So there you go, man.
Makes a shame. That's like it wasn't a great draft because there's no star, but like
find a star in that draft, Kobe means more. That means
Precious Shea and Buzelis are both going to be really good players.
Right now, I'm just happy that I called out Rob Dillingham and Terrence Shannon, especially the Terrence Shannon.
That was impressive.
I'm still happy, and he's getting some minutes. He's a work in progress. That's the nice way to put it. But hopefully he starts at least becoming a solid role player. Then I'll be proud of myself. All right, moving on. We got 2 more trades left here, folks. That's disappointing. We got the Raptors picking up Brandon Ingram, aka BI. That is not disappointing. So, Colby, this is one that we were like, when I asked you, I was like, hey, you sure you want to talk about this? And you were like, absolutely. And I'm like, hell yes, because there's a reason why I wrote this down. Tell us why you were excited to hear about the Raptors getting Brandon Ingram.
I mean, just because it's bizarre. It's just weird. The Raptors, I have no idea what the Raptors' vision or plan is for the future. This team they've built is really, really something to marvel at, the decisions that they've made. I mean, I like Ingram, but his contract, you're going to have to pay him a lot, and he's not great. He has some flaws that teams clearly find unappealing because he's been on the market for like almost 2 years now. It's just a weird thing to do when Toronto's like terrible and kind of in the Cooper Flag chasing business to trade assets to go get Brandon Ingram. I understand to a certain extent wanting to just seeing a talent and at some point the price getting so low that you're like, yeah, let's do that. But it's just they have such a bizarre team. They got quickly making absurd money, and then they have RJ Barrett and Brandon Ingram and Scottie Barnes.
Yeah.
Good, none of whom shoot enough threes to all be able to play together super effectively. So, like, I don't know, man. It's a weird team.
I think they're currently losing by 20 against the Thunder right now.
And a bad team. They have Grady Dick off the bench who was playing super well at the beginning of the year, but he's kind of buried on this weird team where everyone's a wing.
Everyone is a wing. Yeah, and then guess what? They just added another one. So I'm glad you mentioned that you got your Raptors feel out of it. I'm going to be a believer in the Raptors for quite some time, just because of Scottie Barnes. The moment they lose him, I'll probably step away a little bit from the team. But until then, I'll keep believing. However, going forward, I wanted to talk about this trade mostly because, like you said, what are the Raptors truly thinking? They gave up a first, a second, and then the guy that I thought you were going to mention, Colby, Bruce Brown. They gave up your guy, the guy that you were raving that the Nuggets should have never let go. They're just throwing him around nilly and everything.
Well, the Nuggets didn't let him go. They were not able to pay him the amount of money he wanted.
Well, it looks like now the Pelicans got to pay him that money. And it just adds I'm just adding a little more fuel to the fire. That is, the Nuggets could have gone out there shopping for some guys.
Oh, they should have. It's frustrating that they didn't. I understand their moves were limited, but come on, not even getting like a buyout guy or anything is crazy. Just depending on all these young kids, it's going to probably be ultimately what does them in. but we'll
You
see.
got Jokic. Well, anyways,
They have a
Pelicans
shot. I
Hall.
feel pretty good. I like there's no team that I'm like, I don't think they could beat. I'm not saying they're going to beat everybody, but at least in the East or in the West, I mean, once you get to those Eastern teams might be tough, but you never know.
Yeah. It's for the Pels. The main reason why I wanted to bring up this trade is because they got an unexpected haul for this. I mean, yeah, Brandon Ingram has been sitting there
Oh, it's
demanding a trade
generous.
for a long time, but I don't know. I mean, that's a lot that they're giving up, man. They're giving up a first round pick, a second round pick, and two role players.
First round pick is nice for the Pelicans for
yeah,
sure.
especially coming from the Raptors, especially coming from the Raptors. I
Bro,
don't think it's this year's, but it's still a pick. Like knowing the Raptors history. So
the
yeah, I just wanted to throw that in. And now for the trade though, that really
can I give you one more Pelicans thing quick?
yes,
Sorry,
please
before the
go
last
ahead.
one.
Yeah,
So I was
totally.
going to say we talked earlier about the Anthony Davis trade, the Pelicans. If the thing that feels so bad for them, I'm going to pull it up here. Like, uh, as this Zion rebuild with all those picks they got from the Lakers, the craziest part is they have. It's not like they've drafted poorly for them to be in this situation that they're in. Listen to these. They picked Misi this year, 21. He's a steal. He's been one of the best rookies. They picked Jordan Hawkins last year. He's pretty good. Dyson Daniels, they traded him, but he turned out to be great. Um, the next year they had Herb Jones
Heard
in
of
the
Herb
second.
Jones.
They drafted Herb Jones in the second round. Kira Lewis, they missed that one. Granted, they drafted Nick Richards in the second round. Zion, obviously. I mean, they drafted whatever year they got Trey Murphy.
Yeah, they got Trent Murphy.
Player that's panned out. Like they have a talented team. It's just the Zion injury and Brandon Ingram being injured and also not being turning into who you wanted him to really did them in.
And the fact that they're somehow categorized as a Western team.
Yeah, but if they were in the East, this is a whole different. They've been in a couple playoff round one losses instead of just the one.
I would argue, yeah, I was about to say, I'd argue that they would have probably made a run or two with Zion. Because remember, he was available for a playoff run or two. So you can actually,
Ah, it was just the play-in that they lost to the Lakers. He was always out, I think.
oh, well, they were always feisty playing teams. So they can always still could have made a run in the East. That's my point still. It's not going to
Trey
change.
Murphy's incredible. I was watching because they just played Denver twice. Trey Murphy's an incredibly good player. He is their best player. He's a dog.
That's probably why they had the confidence to move off of BI, man. So it's gonna be interesting to see what the Raptors can do with him and everything. So the last trade is the trade, like I was trying to say, shocked at least a lot of people around us, Colby, probably, or at least people that cared about and actually cared about basketball here. I mean, it would be a real surprise if they did at the moment. But Wizards were making moves, Colby. That's the other half of this. I didn't write down all the moves that the Wizards made.
The Wizards, I think, have
Some
pretty
trades.
smart management.
But this trade that we're about to talk about, they managed to get Chris Middleton, which is an old dude, sure. Yeah, they got Chris Middleton and got rid of Kyle Kuzma. I didn't write down everything that they got for this, but they got rid of Kyle Kuzma. They're actually moving off of the pool Kuzma algorithm. So
Smart.
I guess they're done tanking. Did they see something?
Oh,
Colby?
they're not done tank. They've already tanked so well they can coast. They're on a 3-game win streak. They're still by far the worst team. They were on pace to be like one of the worst teams in history, and then they've suddenly won their last 3. But they are horrific, even still.
The Wizards get it. They've made a bunch of moves here.
They have Middleton is the big one, who like he's old and pretty cooked at this point, but they got Marcus Smart also from the Grizzlies. They just ate his salary, and the Grizzlies gave them a first-round pick to do that. They got the kid the Bucks just drafted. They have 4 rookies on their team.
Did you say Valanciunas already?
Yeah, oh no, I didn't. They got rid of Valanciunas, yeah, to get some seconds. Like they're just collecting all these seconds, getting extra ones. They're the worst team, so you might as well just
like
take
the Jazz of the East.
I like Sarr, man. I think has a chance to be pretty good. We'll see.
Really sounding like the Jazz of the East. They have one player that you like out of the whole roster, like that.
I
That,
too. I like Koulibaly too. I believe in Koulibaly.
and
I
I
think
like
good thing.
the young bull, Colin Sexton,
And Colby Covington, the guy that has my name,
and
but or
Walker
not Colby,
Kessler.
Bob Carrington. Uh,
I don't know much Jazz players, so I think you got me beat right there.
the Jazz, yeah, they have more of some of the role players. I liked Taylor Hendricks on the Jazz, but he snapped
But
his
yeah, I guess maybe the Wizards aren't not the Jazz of the East, but they should be.
kind
They
of.
should consider themselves the Jazz of the East, so
They're
that way
worse.
they can build
Yeah,
up the right way.
a little insulting to the Jazz.
They're in the West. They understand where they're at right now. Come on. This is Western basketball, Colby. We got to remember that. But the main story here, I feel like, is about the Bucks here. Yeah, you're getting Kuzma. Huge risk, especially when Giannis is out here running his mouth saying how he needs to go, how Europeans need to go to big markets. Well, Milwaukee, guess what you are? Not a big market. Where do you think Giannis might go? I don't know. But I do know is if you don't do good this playoff season, I can definitely see him probably asking for a trade. I definitely see him wanting to walk out of Milwaukee. I know they just signed him, and the money would probably play a factor. But a lot of teams would not mind trying to shoot their shot, especially, I don't know, Miami team maybe that just lost their superstar and they can just easily replace him over the summer with this brand new younger star in a major market like he was just talking about. I mean, if you're the Milwaukee Bucks, there's a lot of pressure now on you. What are your thoughts on the Bucks and everything? That was just my thoughts.
So it's interesting. I think you're kind of right. I think you're panicking a little much. I don't think Giannis is going to do that right away. I think Giannis also likes to mess with people as well. He's kind of a jokester. So I think he enjoys playing this up, and it could ultimately happen. But I mean, also, I don't know. People have been talking about Giannis like maybe being the guy to make his way out for years, I feel like, but it hasn't happened. They got him to sign the extension after the Dame trade. So even if it does, they have way more leverage um, in like trading him. It's not like he can just walk out the door. So that is the one thing of why that was so important. Even if he does force his way out, you at least know you're not going to be left with nothing. Um, but the Kuzma trade, it's sad to see Middleton after all he did for them and the great run that he ends up having to go to the Wizards. But you know, he makes a ton of money. They paid him millions and millions of dollars. So it is what it is. It's the NBA. Sucks he's on the Wizards. I'm sure they'll trade him if someone takes him later. Uh, but the Kuzma thing, it's high risk, high reward because he is much younger. And there have been times in the past when Kyle Kuzma showed real promise as a player in the NBA. Now, this year, he's been atrocious and he's had some rough moments on the Wizards. It's basically a bet that this guy is on the Wizards, the worst team, so he wasn't really playing serious basketball. And now that he's on a real team, he will lock in and be ideally a better version of what he was on the Lakers back in the bubble days when he helped them win the championship.
Yeah.
So it could work out because he is much younger and more available than Middleton. So
Yeah.
just because of that, there is upside to it, but it could also backfire horribly.
I mean, I'm going to be very disappointed because we're not going to see his fashion show walkthroughs in Washington anymore. But like you mentioned, Kuzma is a younger player. I did mention that we both agree that it's a high risk, high reward thing here. Um, for Kuzma, though, going forward, I think this is just you're officially admitting that you were just not the guy. No, I mean that was what the Wizards experiment was. You got to
Yeah.
remember it was is Jordan. I mean, we both laughed when it happened. We both thought it wasn't going to happen. Everyone thought it was going to work out, and it didn't. Okay, they betted on you. They gave you your chance. Try to prove yourself that you're the guy. Turns out everyone was right. Should probably go back to the position that you were in. And he is. And I feel like he might go into a good spot because, like you said, he's not going to be the number one scorer and number one needing option on the team anymore. Now it's going to be, hey, Give the ball to Dame in the clutch time. Give the ball to Giannis in clutch time. Maybe hit a shot when there's 3 minutes left in the game and it's close. Maybe. Besides that, you better be looking at those two guys and not even thinking about shooting the ball. Just like, I don't know, your time on the Lakers, where you were looking at either LeBron or AD and maybe yourself. So it's
Get
it's very similar to that in everything. I could totally see it. So
try on
hopefully,
defense. If he like can actually give you something on defense, and he plays serious defense, that would go a long
Colby,
way.
you know what they say when it comes to defense. It's all also about coaching. So if you're trusting Doc Rivers to coach up some defense, let me know.
Doc Rivers will yell at him.
Well, you got anything else left to say about this Bucks Wizards trades?
No, I think we've covered some ground. This is a big episode, so
Yes, it is. And the main reason why we asked that question, folks, is because that 10-minute marker has finally come back on the screen for the third time, which is our pretty much our due diligence time to start our final thoughts, America's favorite segment. Colby, what are your final thoughts going into Super Bowl weekend?
all right. So I know this is maybe just me being too online. I'll say part of that. Um, I love the. I know Christian is not the biggest fan of Mr. Stephen A. Smith, but I'm loving Stephen A. Smith teasing the that he might run for president, and the idea of Stephen A. Smith trying to run the Trump 2015-2016 gauntlet, because he's talking about it. He's going on Fox News. He's doing podcasts with the governor of Pennsylvania. This man, he's really teasing it. I'm here for it. Might as well at this it would be hilarious if he actually tries to make that run. I hope he does run for president because I think it would be funny. We'll see. You never know.
Oh, he could win it.
You couldn't rule him out. He's scared. If he's up there,
rule him out is the worst part.
It's gonna be tough when they throw him up there on a debate stage. It's gonna be tough for any politician.
Politics too, yeah.
That's how you want to make all your decisions on who the president should be. That's your business. But we'll see. That it would be electrifying to watch. So that's my final thought. Even if it doesn't happen, it is hilarious. I love that he's playing into this. It's just like teasing that he might run for president.
Would Molly Quirm be the Secretary of State or something? Like, I don't know. Like,
Secretary of State, no. Maybe the press secretary, but probably
press secretary. There we go. She'd be the press secretary.
I think Stephen A. would be locked in. He would figure something out.
Oh my God. I have seen news clippings. I have seen little tad bits coming up about that. That is a little bit too much. Oh, that's a great final thought, Colby. I love that. I love that one. I'm going to keep it here. I'm going to spin it back to the NFL. My final thought here is the one that I danced around while we were talking about the NFL. And that is, yeah, Sam Darnold did not get comeback player of the year. But Colby, it finally happened. After, I think, when did Daboll win his coach of the year when he wasn't supposed to? Like 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. Kevin O'Connell got his coach of the year finally, folks. Should be two-time coach of the year, Kevin O'Connell. But he got his one, and it does feel good. And the worst part is, sure, like I said, Sam Darnold didn't get the credit that he deserves, but it means that this team and this organization is about to trust Kevin O'Connell more than ever to lead the Vikings into glory. And so, Colby, I have to say, man, that's some pretty good stuff. Right?
That was probably your best one. I think that was good.
Thank you.